Okay, we're back in YouTube heaven, and we're discussing disc change technologies. We want to change the shape of the disc so that it supports the structure of the back, so that it supports it in 3 dimensions, but more importantly, so it supports it in the sagittal plane, because that's the most important plane to repair. We tend to talk about it as pumping the disc up, and that is part of it, but we're also going to change the shape of it overall. If you have a bunch of boxes and you stack them up on top of each other, you always get a column of boxes. Well, these discs these vertebrae are like boxes, and if we stack them up on top of each other, if we got parallel discs, then we're going to wind up with a column instead of a curve, and it's not meant to work that way. The mechanical system, as we've talked before, is a curved system that creates lever arms. Well, in order to do that, we're going to have to put discs in between that are wedge shaped. If this is L3, L4, L2, where the disc is bigger in the front than it is in the back. That's what we're trying to create. That creates a curve. And so we need to change the shape of the disc in the lumbar and cervical spine to where it's bigger in the front than it is in the back. And we have a very clever way of doing that, and it's called molding. Now molding, we start off with a round implement, either what we call the P or it could be a rolled up towel, but it works for about 6 to 7 days, and it gives off force 90 degrees to tangent, but it's an infinite number of points, and so it only works for that 6 to 7 days. And it's not going to change it after that. You can make it bigger, smaller, you can make it red, you can make the patient wear a red hat. It doesn't matter. It's not going to change any for you. So then we're going to change the implement to a structure that has the analytical geometry and calculus to create forces, still 90 degrees to tangent, but we'll change the vectors so that it creates a traction, so that if this is L3, and this is L4, and this is L2, L2 and L4 are being dragged away from here, and it's going to open these discs up into a wedge shape, and that's going to create the shape that we want. Now, that's the mechanics, calculus, engineering of it, but the real thing that makes the molding work is
the prehab.
The prehab, great.
The prehab makes the rehab.
I have the best staff in the world. It's the prehab that makes the rehab. It's the warm-up that creates the change in the tissue. The tropic collagen, which is a coiled protein, has elastic properties. We're going to long-axis traction it, which we're going to create a thing called hysteresis. Say it.
Hysteresis.
Hysteresis, very good. Hysteresis is where long-axis on-off loading is going to decrease the elastic properties by up to 95% for 20 minutes. Wait a second. That's how long we've got you molding. That's just so crazy, it just might work. And that's why we've got you molding for 20 whole minutes, because we've warmed it up and prepped the tissue for change, and we've got 20 minutes, a window of opportunity of 20 minutes to change it. So it's the warm-up that makes the difference, not the molding. If you mold without warming up, you will get sore, and it will go back, but you also could potentially tear the tissue, which we want to avoid, and we talked about that in another little excerpt. So, what's interesting is we're going to change the shape through molding. We're also going to use weighting to cause it to happen in a vertical component. But the other thing that has to happen is we've changed the shape, but now we have to pump water back into the disc. We want that to happen through motion. Repeat after me. Imbibition sucks.
Imbibition sucks.
That's right. Imbibition is a pulling force that sucks water into the disc. When we move the spine around, particularly either through the warm-ups or on a wobble chair, it causes a pulling force of water into the disc and pushes the waste products out the back. And that's why the wobble chair works so well, because it helps pump fluid to every angle of the disc. So we're going to pump fluid in, and as we pump it up, it changes its shape and holds that new shape, that new wedge shape, by virtue of its hydraulic properties. So, and I've got a little illustration. I have a friend who's a clown, and he carries with him balloons for all the kids whenever he sees them. And he likes to make wiener dog animals. They've got a short neck and a long body, and he'll make them for the kids. Well, I want you to imagine that we have one of these wiener dog balloons, and we're going to let some of the air out of it so that it's kind of saggy, and then we're going to rework the wiener dog into a giraffe, where it has a long neck and a short body, where it's tall in the front and short in the back. Then we're going to pump air back into the balloon, and it's going to take the good shape of the giraffe. That is exactly what we're doing. We're taking a disc that is long and short. Sometimes it's parallel, sometimes it's even smashed down in the front. We're going to change its shape so that it has a wedge shape, and then we're going to pump water back into it through imbibition. And as we do that, then the hydraulic properties will maintain the shape of that disc, and therefore the overall, all the discs will maintain the shape of that spine, particularly in the sagittal plane, where we need the wedges. This also becomes very important when we deal with scoliosis, because when we look at a person in the coronal plane, they should have parallel discs, and they don't. And so we have to change the shape of it once again so they're parallel, and then pump fluid back in so that the hydraulic properties will hold it in that position while the fibers are then changing their shape. And the whole thing takes vitamin T time.